श्रीशैलेश दयापात्रं धीभक्त्यादि गुणार्णवं यतीन्द्र प्रवणं वन्दे रम्यजामातरं मुनिं लक्ष्मीनाथ समारंभां नादयामुन मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यमच्युत पदाम्बुज युग्मरुक्म व्यामोहतस्ततितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोः भगवतोस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये तस्मै रामानुजार्याय नमः परमयोगिने ये श्रुतिस्मृतिसूत्राणाम् अन्तर्ज्वरमशीशमत् श्रीशैलरङ्गनाथार्यसूनुं सद्गुणसागरं श्रीनिवासगुरुं वन्दे श्रीवत्सकुलभूषणं श्रीवत्सवंशकलशोजितपूर्णचन्द्रं श्रीश्रीनिवासार्यगुरुवर्यतनूजरत्नं तत्पादपद्मयुगलार्पितसर्वभारं श्रीलक्ष्मीनृसिंहगुरवन् वहाम् आचार्यम्। यत्र योगेश्वर कृष्णः यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धरः तत्र श्री विजयो भूतिः ध्रुवा नीतिर्मतिर्मम। What a glorious declaration by Sanjaya. What a glorious end to the nectarine Gita. The end which is endless. The end which is so very profound. Yatra yogeshwara krishnaha yatra partho dhanuddaraha tatra shrihi vijayaha bhutihi dhruva nitihi matirmama. It is indeed a blessing of several lifetimes that we are here today together to conclude a 10-year yajna. The 700th shloka of the Gita, the crescendo of the song Celestial, the profound declaration of Sanjaya, which is a fitting finale to Bhagavad Gita. This shloka is so very reassuring. The Gita is a book of assurances. Bhagavan continuously keeps assuring us all the time throughout the Gita. And towards the end, Sanjaya gives us once again a great reassurance. He assures Shrihi, Vijayaha, Bhutihi, Dhruva Nitihi. Shri is assured. The first assurance. Shrihi, opulence, samriddhi, treasure, the treasure of wisdom, the treasure of bliss, the treasure of Krishna Trishna, the treasure of Krishna Darshana, the treasure of Krishna Prapti, the treasure of Krishna Kaikarya, Kaikarya Shri. The first guarantee that is given to us is Kaikarya Shri, Nitya Kaikarya Prapti. Anavadikadishaya asankheya niravadaya kainkarya, nitya kainkarya to Bhagavan. Success is the next assurance. Vijayaha. Success is not to conquer everyone. Success is to be conquered by the one, the Supreme One, who loves everyone. Worldly success can only end in glorious failures. True success is that success which points to the source of all success. Vijayaha, victory. Victory over external enemies, and more importantly, victory over inner enemies. Bhutihi. Shri is Samriddhi, Bhutihi is Abhivriddhi of Samriddhi. Vibhutir Bhutir Aishwaryam. Bhutihi is Aishwarya, power, lordship, prosperity, abundance. Nitihi, right conduct, morality, good behavior, which is only possible when there is purity, when there is clarity, and then there is simplicity. Clarity of what is important in life, and purity to focus on what is important in life, and simplicity to get rid of non-essentials in life. Nitihi, morality, good behavior. Dhruva nitihi. Dhruva is permanent, steady, eternal. This dhruva qualifies everything else, not just nitihi. Dhruva shrihi, dhruva vijayaha, dhruva bhutihi, dhruva nitihi. A list of promises made by Sanjaya, the great Bhakta, on behalf of Krishna, assuring us of Kainkaryashri, assuring us of success in all endeavors, assuring us of prosperity and power, assuring us of morality, all eternal, all steady. Sanjaya's final declaration, the last shloka of the Gita, in a way, is to answer the very first question of the Gita, the very first shloka of the Gita. Dhritarashtra is very busy doing calculations. On the one hand, the Kauravas are superior in terms of number. 11 Akshauhini Sainya versus only 7 Akshauhini Sainya of the Pandavas. One Akshauhini comprises of 21,870 chariots, 21,870 elephants, 21,870 multiplied by 3 horses, 21,870 multiplied by 5 foot soldiers. Do the math. 1 Akshauhini. 11 Akshauhini Sainya, Kauravas. Only 7 Akshauhini Sainya, Pandavas. Dhritarashtra is mentally doing calculations. 11 Akshauhini Sainya, is it enough? And he wants assurance from Sanjaya. And he wants to know from Sanjaya what is going to happen, who is going to win. Sanjaya is very categorical. Where there is Krishna, where there is Arjuna, there can be only one verdict. There can be only one verdict here, Dhritarashtra. Where there is the Supreme Being and where there is his dear devotee, where there is the Purushottama and then his dear Purusha, where there is Jagannatha and the realized Jiva, there can only be Vijaya. There can only be victory of the light of knowledge over the darkness of ignorance. Sanjaya says, do not waste time on doing all these material calculations. The verdict is already announced, he Dhritarashtra. The first shloka, the 700th shloka of the Gita, in many ways integrates 2 dimensions unique to the Gita, the contextual dimension and the universal dimension. The specific dimension and the universal dimension. This is the beauty of the Gita. The Gita begins with a very specific setting. The Gita begins with a very specific setting, a very specific issue, a specific challenge that needs to be addressed. And a very specific question. Dhritarashtra has a very specific question. Who is going to win? Pandavas are my own sons. This is the setting. And then Arjuna, just before the battle, he falls into the abyss of grief and lamentation and refuses to fight. From this specific setting, the Gita soars, rises, and then gets into a discussion on universal themes: identity, duty, destiny, divinity. In the process of addressing Arjuna's grief, Arjuna's Vishada, Bhagavan ensures that he shows a way for the Vijaya of all of us. And the 700th shloka of the Gita integrates these two dimensions: the specific contextual dimension and the universal dimension. What is the specific contextual dimension? Point blank answer to Dhritarashtra's question. Hey Sanjaya, who will win in this battle? Answer is Dhritarashtra. Wherever there is Krishna, there is victory. Straightforward, contextual answer to a contextual question. But then it integrates the universal dimension to this. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha, Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha. Parthaha Dhanurdharaha, Sanjaya says, which means now Partha has raised his Gandiva. Dhanurdharaha. He is now holding the bow. When the Gita started, he was not holding the bow. He refused to fight. He threw the bow down, or rather the bow slipped from his hands. Now he is holding the bow and he has raised the bow, ready to fight, ready to engage in doing his duty. Arjuna, who was disempowered, is now empowered. Krishna's Gita has empowered Arjuna to get ready to fight, do his duty. So the universal dimension is the Gita empowers us. The Gita empowers us to engage in doing our duties and succeed in every realm of life and living. This is the beauty of the concluding shloka of the Gita. As we begin to conclude, it is only appropriate that we conclude the beginning. As we begin to conclude, we have to first conclude the beginning. And what is the beginning? Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamakah pandavaschaiva kimukurvata Sanjaya. The beauty of the Gita is Dhritarashtra's question, Sanjaya's answer, put together gives us the total essence of the Gita. So, those of us who do not have the time to chant the 700 shlokas, by chanting these shlokas, it is as good as chanting 700 shlokas. But from tomorrow, don't quote me and go on chanting only 2 shlokas. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yutsavaha mamaka pandavaschaiva kimakurvata Sanjaya yatra yogeshwara krishnaha yatra partho dhanurdharaha tatra shri vijayo bhutihi dhruvanitir matir mama. Now, the essential, quintessential question addressed by the Gita can be known by taking the first word of the Gita and the last word of the Gita. Dharma mama. Mama dharma. What is my dharma? This is the essential question. This is the question that is answered in the Gita. And this is the question we are also trying to find answers. This is what we are seeking too. What is the right thing for me to do? What is the right action? What is my dharma? Mama dharma. The first word and the last word. In order for us to know the answer to this question, what is mama dharma, my dharma, we need to take the first 2 words and the last 2 words. Dharma kshetra and matir mama. Matihi mama mati. Mama mati. Mati means intelligence, my buddhi, my mind. When my mind, mama mati, becomes dharma kshetra, when my mind becomes dharma kshetra, kshetra means any field. The mind is also a field. When the mind becomes dharma kshetra, which means every desire in the mind is driven, controlled, managed by dharma. When dharma becomes the foundation of all my desires in my life, my mind, mama mati, becomes dharma kshetra. Mama matihi dharma kshetra. When my mind becomes dharma kshetra, my body becomes kurukshetra, karma kshetra. Doing right actions, because with the right mind, the actions that manifest through the body become right actions. Mama matihi dharma kshetra kurukshetra. Immediately we have a question. Samaveta yuyutsavaha mamakaha pandavaha. Samaveta yuyutsavaha. Assembled, ready to fight. Assembled, ready to fight within our body are Kauravas and Pandavas. The group of vices and the group of virtues. Rajas and Tamas versus Sattva. Engaged to fight, constantly fighting. There is an ongoing battle that is happening within us every day in our lives. There is an external battle and there is an internal battle. So, even if the mind is trying to be shaped to become dharma kshetra, we have a challenge, a formidable challenge. There is a battle that is going on. Kimakurvata Sanjaya, in this battle between vice and virtue, in this battle between the forces of Rajas and Tamas versus the force of Sattva, who can win? The answer is, when Mamamati becomes Dharma Kshetra, then I, who until then have been chasing Artha and committing Anartha, will slowly become Partha and acquire Paramartha. And when I acquire Paramartha, I discover Yogeshwara Krishna, who has always been with me. I, who have been a bhogi, driving towards becoming a rogi, will transform to be a yogi and discover my Yogeshwara Krishna. And when I discover that, I also realize that I stop playing God. I stop playing God and start being a role in God's play. And I realize that I am a significant part, a dutiful part belonging to a beautiful whole, Krishna. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, yatra partho dhanuddaraha. From the perspective of the outside world, this entire universe is Dharma Kshetra. Why? Because it belongs to Dharma. Who is Dharma? Krishna himself is Dharma. Echa Vedavido Vipraha, Echa Adhyatma Vido Janaha, Te Vadanti Mahatmanam, Krishnam, Dharmam, Sanatanam. So when we say Dharma Kshetra, it is Krishna's Kshetra. He is Dharma. This entire Leela Vibhuti, his creation belongs to him. Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre. This samsaric world is Kurukshetra, where actions are repeatedly being done. Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta Yuyutsavaha, where those who are Asuri in nature and Devi in nature are engaged in a battle constantly. The good versus evil. There is ongoing battle all the time. Kimakurvata Sanjaya, who will win? Wherever there is Krishna, there is Dharma. Wherever there is Dharma, there is victory. Jayatu Jayatu Devo Devaki Nandanoyam Jayatu Jayatu Krishno Vishtivaksa Pradipaha Jayatu Jayatu Vegasyamala Komalangaha Jayatu Jayatu Prithvi Bharanasho Mukundaha. Where there is Mukunda, where there is Krishna, there is victory. Sanjaya is giving two answers here. Victory in the inner world, victory in the outer world. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha, yatra Partho Dhanurdaraha. So therefore, when I, the Kshetrajna, realize the presence of Sarvajna, Partha is a representative of every Jivatma. All of us are represented by Partha, Arjuna. When I, Partha, discover my Krishna, who has always been my companion, while I have been chasing my destination, I discover that destination has always been my eternal companion. And I discover that Krishna has always been with me throughout several lifetimes and it continues to be with me. When I discover that, and when I also realize that my dharma is to submit my will to Krishna's will, that is yatra yogeshwara Krishna, yatra partho dhanurdaraha, then tatra shrihi vijayaha bhutihi dhruva nitir matir mama. So thus we see the first shloka and the second shloka put together gives us a beautiful summary of the Gita. Wherever there is Krishna, wherever there is Arjuna, or we should understand it correctly, wherever there is Krishna accompanied by Arjuna. Arjuna represents one who has realized the truth, who has discovered Krishna, his glorious presence. And wherever that combination is there, then victory is assured. Yatra Yogeshwaraha Krishnaha. Krishna is referred to here as Yogeshwara by Sanjaya. Krishna is Yogeshwara for many, many reasons. Yogaha, Ishwaraha, Yogeshwaraha. Now, what is yoga? Yoga can stand for many things. Yogaha, yujyate iti yogaha. In this context, we should understand yoga as Kalyana Guna Yoga. One way to understand yoga. How do we understand this? From the 10th chapter of the Gita. Krishna declares, Etam vibhutim yogam cha mamayo vetti tatpataha saha avikampena yogena yujyate na atra samshayaha. Hey Arjuna, Etam vibhuti yoga. The one who knows my vibhutis, vibhuti is lordship, and his yoga, he says. What is the yoga there? Yoga denotes Bhagavan's Ubhaya Lingatva, his twin identifications. What are the twin identifications of Bhagavan? What is very unique to him? What are the twin identifications of Krishna? One, Akilaheya Pratyanikatva. He is totally blemishless. He is perfection to the core. He is beyond everything that is evil. There can be no taint that can be attributed to him. 100% blemishless. Akila heya pratyanikatva. The second identification is Kalyana Gunakaratva. He is endowed with thousands and thousands and thousands of auspicious qualities. Bhagavan is always united with his Kalyana Gunas. That is the reason why yoga denotes Kalyana Gunakaratva, Kalyana Guna Yoga, Yogeshwara. He is Yogeshwara because he is endowed with innumerable auspicious qualities. This is the speciality of Bhagavan. Krishna therefore is Yogeshwara. Yetam vibhutim yogam cha mamayo vetti tatpataha saha avikampena yogena yujyate natra samshayaha. Krishna says, when one knows him as is, one knows his yoga, when knows his vibhuti, then one attains unshakable faith, he says. Unshakable bhakti, he says. It is in knowing Krishna that our bhakti strengthens. The more we know him, the more we experience him, the greater our bhakti blossoms and grows. So therefore, Yogeshwara Krishnaha, Yoga, Kalyana, Guna, Yoga. This is one way to understand Yogeshwara Krishnaha. Yoga, he said, Yujjate iti yogaha, which means he brings together. Yoga is bringing together a combination of all entities, sentient, insentient entities. Bhagavan, as the creator, brings together sentient entities, insentient entities, all the jivas with Prakriti, and the result is this universe with innumerable manifestations, innumerable names and forms of various kinds. So therefore, yoga can also mean Yogeshwara. He is the designer. He is the designer and the ruler of various combinations. When we look around in this universe, we see various combinations. All of us are a combination of Purusha and Prakriti. All of us are combination. There is an insentient part, which is our body, and there is a sentient part, which is the soul, the Atman. And these two are brought together and we see diversity. We see innumerable names and forms of all types and kinds. And he is the designer and the ruler. Aham sarvasya prabhavaha mattas sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. Aham sarvasya prabhavaha, Krishna says. I am the source of all sources. I am the source of all resources. One who realizes this, automatically Krishna says, iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. Buddha, who is wise? The one who realizes the source of all sources and the source of all our resources and is in a state of awe. And in that state of awe, one experiences ecstatic love for Krishna. He is Buddha, bhava samanvitaha. One who continues to worship Krishna, thus knowing him to be the source, matta sarvam pravartate. Everything functions in this world only because of me, hey Arjuna, Krishna says. So therefore, knowing him, that without him, nothing runs in this universe. This is also yoga, Yogeshwaraha. Yogeshwaraha Krishnaha. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha. Yatra Parthaha Dhanuddharaha. Parthaha Dhanuddharaha. Now, Partha is now Dhanuddharaha. He is standing with the bow raised, ready to take responsibility. Now, responsibility means there is an awareness, there is a heightened awareness and also engagement and butterflies in the stomach. Responsibility also means some kind of anxiety, isn't it? Now here we see Arjuna was anxious before the war and he decided not to fight. Now Arjuna is taking the responsibility, he is also anxious. Now anxiety per se need not be something bad. There is good anxiety and bad anxiety. Positive anxiety, negative anxiety. Arjuna dropped worthless anxiety and became anxious for a meaningful responsibility. No, in this world, whether we like it or not, we cannot remain being not anxious. That's the nature of this world. When we engage in taking a meaningful responsibility with a higher purpose, then we transform the worthless anxiety to a worthwhile anxiety, positive anxiety, which is good for us to continue to perform the responsibility. So therefore, Parthaha Dhanuddharaha here clearly indicates that Arjuna is transformed. Arjuna is transformed and he's picked up his bow. Arjuna now is ready to work with Krishna. Krishna is always ready to work with us. Are we ready to work with Krishna is the question. Right at the beginning of the war, Krishna was right there in his chariot as his charioteer. The same Krishna was there. The same Arjuna was not ready to work with Krishna. Arjuna was in grief. His mind was clouded, confused, bewildered. And in that process, with a clouded mind, he refused to fight. He refused to not work with Krishna. At the end of the Gita, Parthaha Dhanurdharaha. Now he's ready to fight. He's ready to take up the responsibility, ready to work with Krishna. Message is, Krishna is always there, ever ready, waiting for us to work with us. It is up to us whether we are ready to work with Krishna. Now Arjuna, Parthaha Dhanurdharaha, now is ready to fight. Now, can we say that his problem is over, his problem is gone? What was Arjuna's problem? The agonizing war was Arjuna's problem. Before the Gita, Arjuna had an agonizing problem, the war. After the Gita, the problem still exists. The agonizing war is still there. So, we can conclude that Krishna has not fixed Arjuna's problem. Because the war is still there. Arjuna has to fight. He has to engage and fight the war. Krishna has not fixed Arjuna's problem. True. Krishna was never meant to fix Arjuna's problem. Krishna fixed Arjuna, not Arjuna's problem. Krishna fixed Arjuna's confusion. Krishna unclouded Arjuna's mind so that he can fix his problem. Now, we all are good in one task, outsourcing. We want to keep outsourcing our problems to Krishna all the time. Even before IT services started the concept of outsourcing, humankind always was very, very good in this task, outsourcing problems. The problem of outsourcing to Krishna is very problematic. Why? If the problem is not fixed, then we lose our faith. No, then we have a reason to blame Krishna. We lose our faith. But if the problem is fixed, then we become even more enthusiastic in outsourcing our problems, and we expect every problem to be fixed without realizing that in samsara, there are problems which cannot be cured, which can only be endured. Very important to understand. Krishna never promises a stormless sea. He promises a boat that will never sink. We need to know this difference. Throughout the Gita, Krishna repeatedly assures, repeatedly promises a boat that will never sink, a boat that will take us, help us cross over samsara. But he never promises a stormless sea. That's the nature of the Prakriti Mandala. So therefore, whether we like it or not, Krishna, we need to be clear that we cannot keep building, trying to build our relationship based on conditions. Our relationship with Krishna is very, very conditional. Hey Krishna, you fix me this problem, then I will possibly do more bhakti. Very, very conditional. It can never be conditional. Instead of asking Krishna to fix our problems, we should pray to Krishna to fix our devotion. We have to ask him to give us bhakti, strengthen our bhakti. When our devotion is fixed, then we know that there are fixable problems and there are unfixable problems. Then we know we will fix a problem when it is fixable. We will not fixate on problems which are not fixable. We will know the difference. Therefore, we see in the Gita, when Parthaha Dhanurdharaha, Partha is Dhanurdhari, not because his problem is fixed, his problem is still there. Krishna wants Arjuna to tackle his problem. Krishna is not fixing Arjuna's problem, he is fixing Arjuna so that he can engage, do his duty and win the war. This is a very, very important message that Sanjaya gives in the concluding shloka. Yatra Parthaha Dhanurdharaha, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha, Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha. Where there is Krishna, where there is Arjuna, victory is guaranteed. Now we may have this question. We understand where there is Krishna, victory is guaranteed. But why add Arjuna here? If Arjuna is not there, will there not be victory? Of course, the answer is a resounding yes. Where there is Krishna, there is victory. Jitante Pundarikaksha Namaste Vishwabhavana. Where there, he is the one who is ever victorious. So then why should Sanjaya add Arjuna to the equation? Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha. You could have said, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha, Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhuti Drvani Tirma Tirmama. Perfect declaration. Pretty sound. Completely aligned with the Shastras. But he adds, Yatra Partho Dhanurdaraha. Why is Arjuna being added to Krishna here? Because the objective of Gita is twofold. The objective of Gita is to not only explain to us Krishna's supreme position, it is also to transform our disposition. It is to ensure that while we know Krishna, we also transform and use our will and submit to Krishna. Now, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha, Yatra Partho Dhanurdaraha. Wherever there is Krishna, wherever there is Arjuna, there is victory. Can also be understood using a medical metaphor, metaphor of medicine. Where there is a competent doctor and a cooperative patient, there is good health. Now, a cooperative patient is very important. Where there is a doctor, there is a good health is also okay, but where there is a competent doctor and a cooperative patient, the patient first needs to cooperate, especially when the treatment is so complicated. Especially when the doctor says, from today, for the next 20 years, you have to take this treatment. Who will cooperate? But the moment we know the doctor is competent and we understand through the doctor our sickness and the root cause of the sickness, then the patient cooperates. The root cause of our sickness in samsara, spiritual amnesia. And the Gita glorifies Krishna because the more we know Krishna, the more confidence we have in Krishna's words. Because Bhagavan himself is giving the prescription. Where there is a competent doctor, there is, and a cooperative patient, there is victory. We can also say this, where there is a competent teacher and a cooperative student, there is knowledge. A competent teacher alone is not enough. We need a cooperative student. We can also say this, where there is a competent guru and a cooperative sishya, jnana blossoms. So therefore, the reason why Arjuna is added into the equation is essentially to give us that message that it is important for us to play our part. Our part, realizing that we have been apart from Krishna for long. We now need to play our part, submit our will to Krishna's will. Discover that unique endowment that is being given to us, that will is to be used, is to be exercised to discover Krishna's will and align, harmonize our will with Krishna's will. And when that happens, victory ensues automatically. Interestingly, when you look at the imagery of the last shloka, we get some very profound message. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha. Yogeshwara Krishna is sitting as a charioteer. Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara Arjuna is standing with his bow raised. Now, what was Krishna's ultimate teaching to Arjuna? Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarvapapebhyaha mokshayishyami masuchaha. Krishna's ultimate recommendation is, hey Arjuna, surrender to me. And then what did Arjuna respond? Nashto moho smritirlabdha tat prasadan mayachyuta stithosmi gata sandeha karishye vachanam tava. Now Arjuna has surrendered to Krishna, saying, Karishye vachanam tava. But look at the imagery of the last shloka. Arjuna's hands are not raised. Arjuna's hands are not raised, nor are they folded. Now, the moment we have to visualize, imagine surrender, who comes to our mind? From the Mahabharata, the illustrious Draupadi. The moment we have to visualize the imagery of surrender, the illustrious Draupadi immediately comes to our mind. Raising both hands, Shanka Chakra Gadapade, Dwaraka Nilayachyuta Govinda Pundarikaksha, Rakshamam Sharanagatam. Therefore, we understand that surrender, Sharanagati, manifests as helpless dependence on Krishna. But here, then we have this question. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha, Yatra Partho Dhanurdaraha. Has Arjuna really surrendered to Krishna? Unlike Draupadi, with raised hands, Arjuna seems to be nowhere in that position. He is now holding his Gandiva, raising his Gandiva, ready to fight, engage in a duty. This is where we need to understand that in life, there will be situations where we will be choiceless, we will be helpless. There will be many situations in life where we will be choiceless. During those times, we have to emulate the illustrious Draupadi when we do Sharanagati to Krishna. Helpless dependence. Ahamasmi aparadana malayoho akinchano agatiki tomeva upaya bhuto me prarthana tomeva upaya bhuto me bhavati prarthanamatihi sharanagatihi. But there will also be times in life where Bhagavan gives us the opportunity to engage and do our part. Because he also gives us faculties of intelligence, faculties of will. He gives us all resources to be used for his service. During those times, we need to realize that our Sharanagati can also manifest in a different way. Sharanagati, instead of manifesting as total dependence and helplessness, can also manifest as resourceful readiness to serve Krishna. We need to therefore understand the difference between Draupadi Sharanagati and Arjuna Sharanagati. Both of them are important for us. There are times when Draupadi is a great example. Sharanagati can manifest as helpless dependence on Krishna. Sharanagati can also manifest as resourceful readiness to serve Krishna and Krishna alone. Thus we see here in the 700th shloka, the resourceful readiness of Arjuna, ready to fight, ready to do his duty as per Krishna's call. A very profound message that Sanjaya gives to all of us, where there is a need for us to stand up and do our duties, to use the talents, the faculties that have been gifted to us by Krishna. Recognize that each and every one of us, we are very special. Krishna loves us so much that he gifts us special gifts. We may or may not recognize them. The moment we start recognizing the gifts that we have given by Krishna and we start using those gifts in his service, that is when true victory, real success endures. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdaraha. Yatra Partho Dhanurdaraha is one who is connected with Krishna. Partha is connected with Krishna. One who stays in communion with Krishna. The biggest challenge for us is our mind divides and rules. Here in the 700th shloka, Sanjaya is talking about a mind which integrates. Gita transforms our mind. A mind that by design divides and rules. A mind that divides and rules. Krishna says, when we are disconnected from him, we always struggle in life. Mamaivamsho jivaloke jivabhutas sanatanaha manaha shashtani indriyani prakritistani karshati, he says. Karshati, struggle. Life and living is a struggle when we are disconnected from Krishna. The same life and living becomes a joyful ride, becomes effortless when we stay connected with him. And what connects or disconnects? Manayeva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. It is that mind which is the karana for bondage, it is the karana for liberation. The mind divides. So if to integrate, we need to rule the mind. Now, way back in the 6th chapter, Krishna starts to teach how we can manage the mind, master the mind. He says, Uddhared atmanatmanam na atmanam avashadayet. The only way is to elevate oneself, is to elevate the mind. Now, in that context, one of the nursery rhymes that we learn, very popular nursery rhyme, is very useful. Many times we learn nursery rhymes. We don't learn Gita shlokas in school, unfortunately. But even the nursery rhymes that we learn, we fail to understand the inner message, inner meaning of these nursery rhymes. Row, row, row your boat. All of us are familiar with this nursery rhyme. Row, row, row your boat. Gently down the stream. Merrily, merrily, merrily. Life is but a dream. In the context of the 6th chapter, we can understand this rhyme. This rhyme actually conveys Gita's message. Row, row, row your boat. Now we all row somebody else's boat. Krishna says, row, row, row your boat. Now we are all good in giving advice. You should do this, you should not do this. First practice before you preach. Row, row, row your boat. Focus. The boat is a mind here. Row, row, row your boat. Effort, abhyasa, vairagya, practice. Bring the mind under your control. Row, row, row your boat. Gently down the stream. Gently down the stream. Go with the flow. Detachment. Practice detachment from the world so that you can go with the flow. So that you flow with life without anger, without anxiety, without stress. You go with the flow. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. But in the context of the 6th chapter, when Krishna is talking about mind management, this is what we understand. But then while concluding the 6th chapter, Krishna suddenly brings a new dimension to our understanding. Yoginam api sarvesham madgaterantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yo mam same yukta tamo mataha. From there onwards, Krishna starts introducing himself and Bhakti Yoga. And then from 7th chapter to 12th chapter, he explains how we can detach from the world by attaching to Krishna. The first 6 chapters of the Gita is only talking about detachment, and we are really worried. How can we detach? Very, very difficult. Then from the 7th to 12th chapter, Krishna explains, very simple. Attach to me, you will automatically detach from the world. So the focus moves from detachment to attachment to Krishna. And then eventually we also understand Krishna's will. We also understand how he is the Leeladhari. We also understand why he has given us the will. And we understand how by performing bhakti, doing kainkarya to Krishna, and by submitting ourselves to his will, we can effortlessly swim the ocean of samsara. Now, in the context of Krishna's message from 17th chapter to the 7th chapter to the 18th chapter and the 700th shloka, we can reframe this famous rhyme. The rhyme says, row, row, row your boat. Now, how we have to reframe it? Row, row, row your boat, knowing Krishna is already rowing it. Row, row, row your boat, knowing Krishna is already rowing it. The boat is already being rowed. There is nothing, we think we are doing everything. Realize that the boat is already being rowed by Krishna. The second line, gently down the stream, let Krishna guide the stream. Because the stream of samsara, whoever wrote the rhyme did not possibly understand that it is not just flowing, there are innumerable obstacles that come in the way. Let Krishna guide the stream. Let him manage the flow. Let him manage the obstacles. Let him manage everything to take me from where I am to his abode. So let Krishna manage the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Dutifully, beautifully, blissfully, don't let life remain a dream. Fulfill the purpose of life is Krishna's attainment. Therefore, reframing the famous nursery rhyme, row, row, row your boat, knowing Krishna is already rowing it. Let Krishna guide the stream dutifully, beautifully, blissfully. Don't let life be a dream. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha, Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha, Tatra Shrihi Vijayaha, Bhutihi, Dhruva, Nitir, Matir Mama. Now, Dhanurdharaha, Dhanus is very important here. There is a very important message that Sanjaya is giving in this message. This Dhanush of Arjuna stands for our determination to serve Krishna. This Dhanush, which was not held by Arjuna at the beginning of the Gita, Arjuna did not recognize that his duty is to serve Krishna. His duty is Karishye Vachanam Tava. How can Arjuna do Krishna's words, execute Krishna's command? Only by rising. So therefore, this Gandiva stands for our determination to serve Krishna. And therefore, when there is this determination to serve Krishna, we can say this determination leads to victory, but we can also say that determination to serve Krishna by itself is victory. Leading to victory is secondary, because the moment we have the determination to serve Krishna, we know that in this world there can be successes and failures which can keep repeating, alternating all the time. But we are not really bothered, because we know that ultimate victory is guaranteed for us. And continuing to strive to serve Krishna with determination, that itself is victory. Why? Because it is this determination to serve Krishna brings meaning to life. We are all searching for meaning in our lives. So the biggest vacuum that we have in our lives is this lack of meaning. We may not realize it very easily. In our mechanical way of life and living, we may have lived 50 years on this planet, and then one fine day we realize that what is the meaning of my life? And when we ask this question, then suddenly we have fear. Because why? We know that everything that we thought is meaning to our life is going to vanish. When death comes, everything that we thought is a meaning in our life is going to be destroyed. Death becomes a destroyer of meaning. And that is the core fear that all of us have. When we have this determination to serve Krishna, that brings meaning and purpose to our life and living, then death no longer becomes a destroyer of meaning, it becomes a restorer of meaning. Death actually becomes a gateway to eternal life and love. Death no longer is an end, it is only a glorious beginning. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha, Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha, that Dhanurdhara, that Dhanus, the one who has the determination to serve, lovingly serve Krishna, realizing Krishna's presence with him all the time, which means anything and everything that we do in our life, we know that we are cooperating in partnership with Krishna. He is there with us, guiding all the time, supporting us. We know that He is Sarvadhara, Sarvakarana, Sarvaseshi, Sarvaniyanta. And He is the ultimate benefactor. He is our companion. He is there working with us. That gives a completely new meaning to our life and living, death is no longer a destroyer of that meaning. It's a restorer of meaning. It's a gateway to eternal life and love, which is what we have been longing all the time. Because ultimately, the deepest longing that we have is that longing to live eternally and be loved eternally. This longing can only be fulfilled when we have that determination, that dhanus, which serves as that symbol of determination to lovingly serve Krishna all the time. And that is the reason why that imagery of Arjuna being Gandhivadhari is so very important. Every time we see that chariot, that glorious chariot where Krishna is the charioteer and Arjuna standing, a very proud moment for Arjuna, how blessed he was to be personally coached, personally mentored, personally guided by Krishna himself. That Gandhivadhari, Parthaha Dhanurdharaha, we have to be constantly reminded how we can bring meaning and purpose to our life and living by cultivating that determination to serve, lovingly serve Krishna. The 700th shloka summarizes giving three important conclusions. Conclusion number one, the very essential message of the Gita. The very essential message of the Gita. What is Dharma? What is Dharma? What is my Dharma? 700th shloka, Sanjaya's declaration, gives a simple and profound answer at the same time. My Dharma is to harmonize my will with Krishna's will. I am a dutiful part who belongs to a beautiful whole. And my Dharma is to align with the whole, W-H-O-L-E, to which I belong. And therefore, aligning my will, harmonizing my will, submitting my will to Krishna's will is my Dharma. So therefore, first conclusion, what is my Dharma? The essential answer to this is harmonizing my will with Krishna's will. The second conclusion, who is going to win? When will victory ensue? Answer is very categorical. Where there is Krishna, there is Dharma. Where there is Dharma, there is victory. The third conclusion is Sanjaya enables us to ascend the peak, the summit of Dharma, where we can make the final choice, the choice of all choices, the only choice that we have to ever make in our lives. We are infinite choice makers, making choices all the time. But when we realize how complex choice making is, and when we realize we can remove all the complexity by making only one choice, when we make that one choice, we don't need to worry about any other choice that we made in this life. Sanjaya concludes, enabling us to ascend to the peak, to the summit of Dharma, where we realize the only choice that we need to make in our life and living is to choose Krishna. Who is Dharma? Yecha Vedavido Vipraha, Yecha Adhyatmavido Janaha, Evadanti Mahatmanam, Krishnam Dharmam Sanatanam. Choosing Krishna is reaching the ultimate summit of Dharma. Therefore, emphatically, Sanjaya declares, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha, Yatra Partho Dhanuddaraha, Tatra Shrihi, Vijayaha, Bhutihi, Dhruva, Nitihi, Matirmama. So, answer is very clear to us. We need to ascend the peak of Dharma. By ascending the peak of Dharma, we will be enabled to make the choice of all choices. Then we have one question. How do we make that ascent? What is the answer to the question, how do we recognize our Yogeshwara Krishna? If I am the Partha Dhanurdharaha, how do I recognize him and how do I ascend the peak of Dharma to make Yogeshwara Krishna as my choice? The answer to this is the question that is natural coming out of the 700th shloka. Now, to know the answer to this question, we need to go back to the first shloka. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre. The first part of the first shloka. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre. Now, how do we get the answer? We just need to rearrange the words. Kshetre kshetre dharma kuru. Kshetre kshetre dharma kuru. Kshetra is this body. Kshetre kshetre dharma kuru. Body after body, we keep doing as the Atman keeps assuming, acquiring new physical body after life, continue to strive to perform dharma. And when we continue to perform dharma, in the process of performing swadharma, we acquire knowledge and we practice vairagya. And it is through the practice of vairagya and acquisition of knowledge that we cultivate bhakti. Swadharma jnana vairagya sadhya bhakteika gocharaha narayana param brahma gita shastre samiritaha. So therefore, the question that we get out of the 700th shloka is, what should we do? The answer is kshetre kshetre dharma kuru, which means go back and start from shloka 1 of the Bhagavad Gita. The journey doesn't end. Because when we say the end, there are two meanings to the end. End means finish. End means complete. Now, Bhagavad Gita has two ends. One end is Krishna himself. End means objective. End can mean objective. End can mean completion, finish. Now, Bhagavad Gita has two ends. Interestingly, both the ends are endless. One end, objective, Bhagavan Krishna is endless. The other end, completion, is also endless, because kshetre kshetre dharma kuru. After 700th shloka, what next? Shloka number 1. Jai Sri Krishna.